There are shadows in every home, but few are as dark and as insidious as those that lurk behind closed doors. For within these walls, where we are meant to feel safest, there exists a different kind of terror, one that wears the mask of family. It is the terror of being trapped within the suffocating grip of a narcissist, a terror so silent and subtle that it is often mistaken for love. But love, my friends, is not a prison, and the true nature of this terror cannot be understood until we see it for what it truly is, a demon in disguise. Behind the polished smiles and soft-spoken words, beneath the facade of care and concern, lies a darkness that seeks only to consume. A darkness that feeds on control, on manipulation, on the slow, deliberate destruction of your very sense of self. The narcissist in your family is not merely a person. They are an entity, a demon clothed in human form. They do not just wish to be loved, they demand it, but in a way that twists and distorts the very essence of love. To them, you are not a family member to be cherished, but a pawn to be used, a vessel to be drained. The first sign, the first whisper of their presence, is almost imperceptible. It begins with a look, a comment, a seemingly innocent remark designed to chip away at your confidence. At first, it feels like nothing more than a mild irritation, perhaps a quirk of personality, or an unfortunate misunderstanding. But those little jabs, those tiny cuts, build over time, carving deep into your soul. It is as though you are not allowed to exist outside of their reflection, and any attempt to do so is met with rage, with indifference, or with cruelty. But the true horror lies not in their actions, which are often easily dismissed or explained away, but in the insidious way in which they warp reality. They gaslight you, turn the world on its head, until you begin to doubt the very fabric of your own being. What was once clear becomes clouded. What was once certain becomes uncertain. Your every thought, your every feeling is subjected to the microscope of their control, examined for weakness, for flaw, for an opening that they can exploit. You are no longer free to think or feel as you wish. You are only free to serve their needs, their desires, their endless craving for validation. And in the quietest of moments, when the house falls still and the doors are closed, you begin to understand the true nature of their demonhood. It is not just their cruelty, their narcissism, or their disregard for others' emotions. No. The true horror lies in their ability to make you believe you are the problem, to make you feel that their darkness is your fault, that their rage is your doing. It is this twisted power, this ability to manipulate reality itself, that makes them so dangerous. It is not the demon who wears a monstrous face and roars in fury that we must fear, but the demon who wears the face of family, who whispers in gentle tones, who smiles with kindness, and yet devours your very soul without a single word of warning. Behind closed doors, you are caught in a game that you can never win. The rules are theirs to dictate. The lines between truth and falsehood blur, until you can no longer distinguish one from the other. The love you thought you had is suffocated under the weight of their demands. You, the once whole and complete person, become fractured, divided, a mere shadow of yourself, constantly striving to meet their unending expectations. And yet, it is not the demon itself that holds the greatest power. It is the silence that surrounds it. The silence that allows the narcissist to thrive, to operate unchecked, unchallenged, behind the veil of normalcy. In the family, we are taught to forgive, to understand, to endure. We are told that blood is thicker than water, that family is sacred. But what happens when the family itself becomes the very source of your torment? What happens when the one place you should feel safest is the very place where you are slowly being consumed? This is the horror of living with a narcissistic demon in your family. It is not a horror that can be easily seen, nor one that can be swiftly escaped. It is a slow, creeping poison, one that seeps into every corner of your being until you are left questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself and your worth. And worst of all, it leaves you trapped in a cycle where you are constantly reaching out for love, for approval, for validation, only to be met with emptiness, with silence, with a hunger that can never be satisfied. The question then becomes, how do you fight an enemy who wears the face of your loved one? How do you escape a prison when the bars are made of blood and bone, and the warden's voice is one you have known since birth? It is a question that many have asked, but few have found an answer to, because the first step is not to fight but to see, to recognize the demon behind the mask, to call it by its name, and to refuse to accept the lies it tells you. For only then, when you see the demon for what it truly is, can you begin to understand the full depth of its power, and the even greater power that lies within you to resist it. Narcissism within the family is not merely an issue of self-centeredness or selfish behavior. It is something far more dangerous. The narcissist is not simply a person with a tendency to seek validation or admiration. They are, in a sense, a demon in disguise, manipulating and controlling those around them in ways that are so subtle and insidious that the damage they cause is often invisible until it's too late. Beneath the surface of charm, kindness, and love lies a deep well of exploitation, a hunger for control that knows no bounds. The narcissist's most dangerous weapon is their ability to blend into the fabric of family life. They don't stand out as the obvious villain. They wear the mask of family. They act the part of the loving parent, the caring sibling, or the doting child, which makes their darker motives all the more difficult to discern. Because they inhabit the role of someone who is supposed to care for you, they manipulate your expectations and emotions, often without your conscious awareness. The narcissist does not need to scream or shout to exert their control. Instead, they wield their power in quieter, more underhanded ways, through criticism masked as concern, love used as leverage, and affection that is given only when it serves their needs. Their emotional manipulation is subtle but devastating. A narcissist in the family will often use passive-aggressive tactics to create confusion and self-doubt. A remark that seems harmless on the surface can actually be designed to undermine your self-esteem, planting seeds of doubt in your mind. "I just want what's best for you," they may say, while their actions speak the opposite, discrediting your decisions. What starts as seemingly innocent remarks can turn into a pattern of undermining behavior, until you are left questioning your worth, your choices, and even your reality. Narcissists excel at creating confusion, blurring the lines between what is real and what is a fabrication of their making. Through gaslighting, a term that describes a method of psychological manipulation, the narcissist forces you to doubt your own perceptions and sanity. They will twist the truth to serve their own narrative, making you feel as though you are always the one in the wrong, always the one who needs to apologize, always the one who is flawed. Over time, the victim of narcissism begins to lose sight of what is true, as the narcissist controls the narrative in every interaction. Perhaps the most insidious part of their manipulation is how they exploit the very things that are supposed to bring comfort in family life: trust, loyalty, and love. In the narcissist's world, these values are twisted into tools of control. Love becomes something conditional, given only when you meet their standards or serve their needs. It is not unconditional affection, but a transactional offering. You are loved only when you are useful, when you validate them, when you act in the way they demand. But when you fall short, when you show signs of independence or assert your own identity, love disappears, replaced by coldness, rejection, or even cruelty. The narcissist's insidious nature is that they create an environment where you feel both loved and unloved at the same time. They lead you to believe that you are nothing without them, that their approval is the only thing that matters. And yet, no matter how much you give, it is never enough. They manipulate your emotions to the point where you find yourself constantly seeking their validation. And yet, no matter how much you try to please them, it remains just out of reach. It is this perpetual cycle of love, withdrawal, and emotional manipulation that keeps you tethered to them, often without even realizing the damage they are doing. The narcissist's ability to wear the mask of family, to masquerade as someone who loves and cares while quietly tearing you down, makes them one of the most dangerous figures you will encounter in your life. They are not the loud, obvious villain, but the quiet, charming presence that seeps into your soul, poisoning your sense of self-worth and distorting your perception of reality. And all the while, you may find yourself trapped within their web, struggling to break free from the hold of someone who is supposed to be your protector, but who is instead your captor. One of the most insidious tactics employed by narcissists is psychological manipulation, often referred to as gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse that involves the systematic distortion of reality, making the victim question their thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and even their sense of self. It is a methodical assault on the mind, where the narcissist seeks to control the narrative and convince you that your understanding of reality is flawed, leaving you disoriented, insecure, and vulnerable. In a family dynamic, this type of manipulation can be particularly devastating because it plays on the very foundation of trust that is supposed to exist between family members. The narcissist, who is supposed to care for you, starts to undermine your ability to trust your own instincts and judgment. They do this with subtlety and cunning, often making you feel like you are imagining things or overreacting to situations. The narcissist denies facts, twists events, and reshapes the truth to suit their own needs, all while convincing you that you are the one who is wrong. For instance, a narcissistic parent might deny ever saying something hurtful, even if you clearly remember the conversation. They might tell you, "You're just too sensitive," or "That never happened, you're making things up." They may even go so far as to accuse you of being forgetful, exaggerating, or being overly dramatic. Over time, this repeated dismissal of your feelings and experiences begins to chip away at your confidence. You start to wonder if maybe you really are imagining things, and if your emotions and memories are invalid. Slowly but surely, you begin to lose sight of your own truth, which is the narcissist's primary goal. This type of manipulation can also extend to your sense of self. The narcissist may make you doubt your worth and your ability to make decisions. If you express an opinion or desire that doesn't align with their own, they may belittle you or make you feel as though you are wrong to have those thoughts in the first place. For example, they might say things like, "Why would you think that? You're being irrational," or "You're always making things harder than they need to be." These remarks are not just criticisms. They are carefully crafted blows designed to make you feel small, insecure, and uncertain of yourself. As this manipulation continues, you may find yourself second-guessing your own perceptions of reality. The narcissist's version of events becomes the only truth you can rely on, as they systematically discredit your point of view. You begin to feel confused, isolated, and emotionally drained. It's as if you are trapped in a psychological maze, with no way of knowing which direction is the right one. The constant undermining of your emotions and thoughts leaves you feeling like you are walking on eggshells, unsure of how to navigate the ever-shifting dynamics of your relationship with the narcissist. What makes gaslighting particularly destructive is that it often happens incrementally, in small, seemingly insignificant moments. At first, the narcissist's dismissals and distortions of reality might seem minor, easy to brush off as misunderstandings or isolated incidents. But as time passes, the frequency and intensity of these manipulations grow, and you are left with a shattered sense of self. You might begin to feel like you cannot trust your own mind, and you might rely more and more on the narcissist's version of events, only further reinforcing their control over you. In the family setting, this gaslighting can lead to a profound loss of confidence and self-worth. The narcissist's manipulation may leave you questioning your identity, your emotions, and your very existence within the family dynamic. You might start to feel that everything you do is wrong, or that you are incapable of making good decisions. It is a gradual process, but the cumulative effect is devastating. Your sense of self becomes so diminished that you can no longer trust your own thoughts or experiences. The worst part of this is that the narcissist will often deny their manipulation, making it difficult for others to see what's happening. They may portray themselves as the caring, reasonable family member, leaving you to feel as though you are the one causing the problems. This reinforces your doubt, as you may begin to feel that if everyone else sees them as normal, then you must be the one who is out of line. The result of this relentless gaslighting is a profound erosion of self-esteem. Narcissists use this technique to maintain power and control, creating an environment where their victim feels completely dependent on them for validation. Over time, this manipulation leads to a complete breakdown in confidence, leaving the victim struggling to understand what is real and what is distorted. It is not just a battle of wills, it is a battle for your very mind. And the narcissist's goal is to ensure that they are the one who defines your reality. Breaking free from gaslighting requires recognizing the patterns of manipulation and regaining trust in your own perceptions. It is a long, difficult process, but it is the first step in reclaiming your sense of self and standing against the toxic forces that have been at work behind the closed doors of your family. Narcissists have a remarkable ability to feed off the emotions and validation of those around them, particularly those in their close family circles. This emotional consumption is one of the most draining and destructive aspects of their behavior. At first glance, it may seem as though the narcissist is offering love and affection, but in reality, their love is neither unconditional nor selfless. It is a form of emotional exploitation, a transactional relationship in which the narcissist demands admiration, attention, and praise, while offering little in return. They are not concerned with the well-being of others. They are only concerned with their own needs, desires, and sense of superiority. The narcissist thrives on the validation they receive from others. Like a parasite, they feed off the positive emotions of those they interact with. But this feeding is never enough. No matter how much you give, no matter how much you try to please them, the narcissist is always hungry for more. They require constant admiration, praise, and reassurance to fuel their inflated sense of self-worth. They are emotionally starved, but rather than seeking to nurture others, they demand that their emotional emptiness be filled by those closest to them. For a family member, this dynamic is incredibly taxing. At first, you may feel as though the narcissist's need for validation is a natural part of the relationship. You may believe that by giving them the attention and admiration they seek, you are fulfilling a need or helping them feel better about themselves. However, this love is always conditional. The moment you stop meeting their expectations or fall short of their demands, you will find that their affection disappears, replaced by indifference, criticism, or even outright hostility. Their emotional needs are always put first, leaving little space for your own. The narcissist's love is not based on a genuine emotional connection. It is based on control. The more they can manipulate you into providing them with emotional fuel, the more they maintain their power over you. You become their emotional supplier, giving endlessly while receiving little in return. Over time, you may begin to feel like a mere shadow of yourself, drained and exhausted from constantly striving to meet their insatiable needs. Your own emotions, desires, and needs are pushed aside as the narcissist's demands take center stage. What makes this emotional consumption particularly toxic is how it affects your sense of self-worth. When you are constantly giving, constantly seeking validation from someone who will never truly appreciate or reciprocate it, you begin to internalize the belief that your value is only tied to what you can offer them. You may start to feel invisible, unimportant, and unworthy of love unless you are fulfilling their emotional needs. This unhealthy dynamic can cause deep emotional scars that make it difficult to recognize your own needs or assert your own boundaries. The narcissist's ability to emotionally consume others also manifests in their refusal to acknowledge or meet your emotional needs. They view relationships not as mutual exchanges of love and care, but as opportunities to extract resources, in this case, emotional energy. If you express any emotional vulnerability, share your own struggles, or seek their support, you are likely to be met with coldness or disdain. They may belittle your feelings, dismiss your concerns, or redirect the conversation back to their own needs. In their eyes, your emotions are irrelevant unless they somehow serve to bolster their own ego or fulfill their own desires. As this cycle continues, you may begin to feel an overwhelming sense of depletion. The narcissist's constant demands drain your emotional reserves until you are left feeling empty, like an emotional shell of who you once were. Your attempts to connect with them on a genuine, reciprocal level are futile, as they are incapable of offering anything but self-centered affection. The more you give, the less you receive, and the further you drift from the person you once were. Over time, this emotional consumption can lead to a sense of isolation. The narcissist may surround you with their emotional needs, but when you turn to them for support or understanding, you are met with indifference or neglect. It becomes clear that, in their eyes, your emotions are secondary to their own. Your personal struggles are irrelevant, and your emotional well-being is not a priority. This one-sided dynamic creates a toxic environment where you feel invisible, unloved, and emotionally exhausted. Breaking free from this emotional consumption requires a painful but necessary shift in perspective. It involves recognizing that the narcissist's love is not true love, but a manipulation designed to keep you dependent on them. You must come to terms with the fact that your emotions and needs are just as valid as theirs, and that you deserve love and respect that is not conditional or self-serving. This shift is not easy, especially when you have been conditioned to believe that your worth is based on the narcissist's approval, but it is a crucial step in reclaiming your sense of self and emotional well-being. Ultimately, the narcissist's ability to drain you emotionally leaves you in a constant state of striving to please, to validate, to serve, while your own needs remain unfulfilled. Their love is a mirage, always just out of reach, and no matter how much you give, you will never receive the genuine care and affection that you deserve. It is a never-ending cycle of emotional depletion. But recognizing this dynamic and learning to set boundaries is the first step toward escaping the emotional consumption that keeps you trapped. The true horror of living with a narcissist in the family does not always come from the loud outbursts, the dramatic confrontations, or even the overt cruelty. No, the most chilling aspect of narcissism often lies in the silence that surrounds it. In this silence, the narcissist operates unchecked, their manipulative tactics and emotional control seeping into every aspect of family life like a slow poison. They don't need to raise their voice, and they don't need to make a scene. The most effective form of their power is found in the quiet spaces between words, in the unspoken expectations, and in the subtle, almost imperceptible ways they dominate and distort reality. The narcissist's power is silent, because it's hidden beneath the surface of what looks like normal family interactions. To the outside world, they may seem like the caring parent, the protective sibling, or the dutiful child. They know how to wear the mask of family, to play the role of someone who is loving and kind, but beneath this mask, they are quietly manipulating, controlling, and exploiting those closest to them for their own gain. Their actions may seem innocuous at first, a quiet comment here, a subtle gesture there, but over time, these seemingly small moments accumulate, building a world in which their victims are gradually subjugated without ever realizing they are being overtaken. This silent control is not only devastating because of its subtlety, but also because it makes the victim question whether the situation is really as bad as they feel. The narcissist will frequently use silence to their advantage, withholding affection or attention as a form of punishment, while pretending everything is fine. They may give you the silent treatment, a method of emotional withdrawal that creates an atmosphere of tension and confusion. It leaves you wondering what went wrong while they remain eerily calm and distant. The longer this goes on, the more you are left questioning your own behavior and seeking a resolution that is always just out of reach. The silence also plays into a larger societal pressure to endure, forgive, and accept the dysfunction of family life. Family, after all, is supposed to be a safe haven, a place of unconditional love and support. But what happens when the very people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who are causing you harm? This is where the true terror lies, in the societal expectation that family members should always be tolerated, no matter the cost. We are taught to forgive our families, to overlook their flaws, and to continue loving them even when they hurt us. This creates an insidious trap where the narcissist can thrive. They know that, despite the pain they cause, there is a cultural expectation that you will simply endure it, that you will let it slide because they are family. This pressure to forgive and forget only intensifies the feeling of being trapped. You begin to doubt your own experiences because society tells you that you should just deal with it or let it go. You feel ashamed for being upset, for being hurt, because you are conditioned to believe that family issues should stay behind closed doors, that the family's internal problems should not be aired out for others to see. This pressure to maintain the family's image of unity and harmony makes it almost impossible to break free from the narcissist's control. You are told to be loyal, to keep quiet, to avoid conflict, and so the silence continues, suffocating your ability to speak out or to stand up for yourself. This silent power also manifests in the emotional manipulation that keeps you constantly questioning your own sense of reality. The narcissist may gaslight you, making you feel that their behavior is not as bad as it seems, or that you are overreacting to their actions. They twist reality so effectively that you begin to feel that your own emotions and perceptions are invalid. They may use silence to create confusion. One moment they act loving and kind, the next they withdraw completely. Their mood swings, the inconsistencies in their behavior, and the long periods of emotional distance leave you in a constant state of uncertainty. Over time, this silent power begins to erode your self-esteem and sense of worth. The longer you remain in the toxic silence, the more you internalize the idea that you are the problem, that you are somehow responsible for their behavior, that you deserve to be treated this way. The narcissist has conditioned you to believe that their silence is your fault, and that you must somehow earn their approval or affection. You become desperate for their validation, constantly striving to regain their favor, but it is always just out of reach. This creates a cycle of emotional deprivation, in which the narcissist continually controls the dynamic, while you are left in a state of emotional hunger and confusion. What makes this silent power so insidious is its ability to wear down your resistance. The narcissist's emotional manipulation paired with societal pressure to tolerate family dysfunction, slowly breaks you down, making it seem as if escape is impossible. The silence surrounding their actions convince you that you are overreacting, that the situation isn't as bad as it feels, and that it's just a normal part of family life. It's only when you begin to recognize the extent of the manipulation and the damage it's causing to your mental and emotional health that you can start to break free from the silence and reclaim your own voice. The narcissist's power is not in the loudness of their demands or the force of their aggression, but in the quiet ways they manipulate, control, and emotionally drain you. The horror lies in their ability to remain unnoticed, to operate in the shadows while quietly destroying your sense of self. Breaking free from the narcissist's silent power requires not only recognizing their behavior, but also finding the courage to speak out, to challenge the societal expectations that have kept you silent for so long. Only then can you begin to reclaim your peace and break the cycle of emotional manipulation that has kept you trapped in the silence for so long. The first, most crucial step in resisting a narcissistic family member is recognizing them for what they truly are. For many, this realization is not easy, and it is often clouded by the complex emotions and deep-rooted attachments that family bonds bring. Narcissists, with their charm and manipulative tactics, often disguise their true nature behind a mask of kindness, love, and concern. It is only by peeling back this mask and confronting the reality of their behavior that you can begin to see them for the emotional predators they truly are. The recognition of their harmful actions is not just a step toward awareness, it is the key to freeing yourself from their toxic grip. One of the first signs that you are dealing with a narcissist is the inconsistency in their behavior. One moment they may shower you with affection, praise, and attention, making you feel like the most important person in the world. The next moment, they may turn cold, indifferent, or even cruel, leaving you confused and emotionally drained. This back-and-forth dynamic is often a deliberate tactic designed to keep you off balance, perpetually striving to regain their favor. In truth, their love is conditional. They love you only when you serve their needs or reinforce their sense of superiority. When you fail to meet their demands or challenge their control, their affection disappears, leaving behind only manipulation and rejection. The narcissist is a master of emotional manipulation. They gaslight you, twist your reality, and make you question your own feelings, thoughts, and memories. They may dismiss your concerns, belittle your achievements, or accuse you of being overly sensitive, all in an effort to undermine your confidence and maintain control over you. Over time, this erodes your sense of self-worth and leaves you second-guessing your perceptions of the world around you. Recognizing this behavior as manipulation and not an unfortunate flaw or misunderstanding is crucial to breaking free from their influence. Narcissists are also adept at exploiting your emotional needs for their own gain. They use your vulnerabilities against you, drawing you in with promises of love and care, only to pull away when you need them the most. Their emotional consumption is not just draining. It's designed to keep you dependent on their validation, ensuring that you are always seeking their approval and attention. They want you to feel like you are nothing without them, that your value is tied only to their perception of you. Recognizing this as an unhealthy, parasitic relationship is vital for your mental and emotional liberation. At the heart of a narcissist's manipulation lies their need to control the narrative. They will try to convince you that you are the problem, that you are the one who is difficult, irrational, or ungrateful. They use silence, guilt, and shame as tools of domination, but by recognizing their behavior for what it is, a power play designed to keep you subordinate and emotionally unstable, you can begin to challenge their authority over you. Narcissists thrive on the idea that their victims will remain silent. that they will continue to tolerate the emotional abuse, and that they will feel guilty for even considering the possibility of standing up for themselves. The moment you acknowledge that their actions are harmful, that their behavior is a form of emotional violence, you take the first step toward regaining control over your life. Once you recognize the narcissist's behavior as harmful, it becomes possible to start reclaiming your power. Acknowledging the manipulation and abuse for what it is allows you to take a step back and break free from the cycle of emotional depletion. It is only when you stop denying the damage they cause that you can begin to create boundaries, emotional, psychological, and if necessary, physical, to protect yourself. Setting clear boundaries is a powerful act of self-preservation. The narcissist may try to push against these boundaries, test them, or make you feel guilty for asserting them. But by maintaining your boundaries, you send a clear message that you will no longer tolerate their toxic behavior. This recognition also opens the door to self-healing. The more you understand the nature of narcissism and how it operates within your family, the more you can begin to rebuild your sense of self. You no longer see yourself through the distorted lens that the narcissist has placed over your eyes. You begin to trust your own feelings and perceptions once more. You regain the strength to stand firm in your identity, independent of the narcissist's approval or manipulation. This process of self-healing can take time and may require support from others who understand the toxic nature of narcissistic behavior. Whether through therapy, support groups, or trusted friends and family who see the truth. Gaining power means recognizing that your life is your own, that you have the right to live free of emotional manipulation, and that your worth is not determined by the narcissist's view of you. It's about choosing to break free from their control, no matter how deeply entrenched their influence may be in your life. Once you begin to understand the narcissist's tactics and recognize the harm they cause, you can begin to reclaim your autonomy and move forward in a way that is healthy, authentic, and empowering. Ultimately, the key to resisting a narcissistic family member is understanding that you are not the problem. They are. And once you accept this truth, you will find the strength to step away from their toxic influence and regain control over your own life. It is a difficult journey, but it is one that is essential for your emotional freedom and well-being. Recognizing the narcissist for what they truly are, a manipulative, self-serving force, is the first step toward breaking free, and from there, you can begin the process of healing and reclaiming the power that is rightfully yours.